Was a state champion there. Of course, the vast majority of these wrestlers can boast of that, if not all of them. He won 2 in that Reno tournament, at which Oregon State placed second. Does the fact that this is a higher weight class than Sasso is accustomed to, will that be any kind of an advantage potentially for Menke?
It's an advantage for every opponent of his. You know, the reason we have weight classes is because the bigger and stronger somebody is, the more advantage they have over a smaller, not as strong opponent. And Sammy Sasso weighs in very light. He is not a 165-pound wrestler. He's never been in his career. He's doing that right now because that's where he is. That's where the team has him. That's where he was to begin the season. For him, for what his body will do coming back from everything it's been through, well, you have to figure that out. And oh, by the way, if he wants to go to a lighter weight class, there are several guys in that wrestling room there over at the Jennings Wrestling Facility that say, well, that's my spot. That's the spot that I want. They're not just going to give it up to him.
Sasso has been remarkably successful, 19-2, and remarkably consistent through his career. 24-1 last year, 16-1, 25-4, 29-4. Just tremendous throughout his entire career. In his first full year with the Buckeyes, he was second in the NCAA, a 4-time All-American, the 9th wrestler in program history to accomplish that. So far, still no score, and feeling out process continuing here.
Well, stylistically for Sasso, he's never been a guy, even at lower weight classes, with a lot of horsepower. He's an excellent counter wrestler, so tough to score on, scores off opponent shots a lot, and that becomes a lot more difficult when you're dealing with an opponent who is bigger and stronger than you are. So you've not seen quite as many wide open wins for Sasso this year as you've seen in the past, and that stands to reason.
Menke was a state champ in Colorado at the 160 weight class. He placed all 4 years, 3rd, 4th, and 6th in the other years in Colorado. Trying to get in for the shot. Didn't really get a clear shot at Sasso, but he's holding on to that right ankle.
Well, again, this is where Sammy is so good. Oftentimes it seemed like he'd give his legs away to get into these types of situations to score on his defense. And now he's got the arm pinned to the side. He's trying to scoot out from underneath and turn it into a takedown with possible near fall.
Got a little high there for a moment it looked, but.
Well, and again, that's where the size and horsepower makes a lot of difference. If you're wrestling somebody your own size, Sasso may well have turned that into potentially a 7-point move.
Potentially dangerous call.
And Menke, for his part, he understands that. He knows he's the bigger man in terms of size in this match, and he's using that to his advantage.
Well, you can just look at the two, and you can see that there is a bit of that advantage that exists. Perhaps not a prohibitive one, but enough to perhaps make some kind of difference as the final seconds running out here in this opening period. And it will end the same way it started, with no score on either side. And what can we gather from what we saw there in that opening period?
Well, that Menke is not going to give any ground in this match. You just saw it right there at the end of the first period where he went a little bit past the whistle to send the message to Sasso, I'm here, I'm in front of you, I am not giving any ground. You're going to have to beat me. You're not winning this match just by stepping on the mat.
Similar to what C.J. Hamblin, the message that he sent to Patty Gallagher. And that went right down to the final seconds before Gallagher prevailed by a single point. Sasso trying to effect the escape here. But Menke not giving it up willingly, very grudgingly, in fact, and he still got him down. And he's holding on for dear life, not allowing Sasso out.
Well, this is another spot where you're at a distinct disadvantage being the undersized wrestler. Having to carry a guy larger than you as a backpack, that's going to burn up a lot of your energy. And no matter how hard you train, no matter what your resting heart rate is, there's only so much you bring into a match.
Well, he finally got that point. It took almost just over 45 seconds of trying, and he has a 1-0 advantage now. And let's see what happens now that both wrestlers are on their feet.
1 minute remaining second period.
into the final minute of the second period.
And on our final NFL Sunday of the regular season, if you're a team that's got a big offensive line and a running back, keep pounding the ball, pounding the ball, pounding the ball, soften that defense up, and then later on in the game you can take your shots downfield. Now it's akin to being the bigger wrestler in a match.
Yeah, you might have some success earlier, but as the match goes on, the size tends to become more and more of a factor. And we're into the final half minute of the second period. And the wrestlers still playing somewhat of a waiting game here. And we may well go into the third period with as close a score as you can have.
Now, Menke's had the only really committed shot so far. Sasso tried to turn it into points off of that.
Or at least as small a deficit as you can have. And that's going to do it for the second period. Sasso got that escape that he really had to work to accomplish, is the difference in the match right now. But now here is maybe Menke might feel that he has that advantage that we've been talking about with the additional weight, that he might be able to push the envelope a little more.
Yeah, this decision to go neutral I think is a smart one for Menke. Sasso very, very good on top. There's no ride time advantage here, so take the feet, try and wear your man out, find an opening to look for a takedown, because even if you escape, you're going to have to get a takedown to win it anyway.
This is the sixth match we've seen. If Menke would be able to pull it out, it would be the third victory for Oregon State, but Ohio State with the points edge because of the margin they've accumulated. He's got Sasso by the left leg here.
Now Menke shot to the right leg and wound up on the left leg. Sasso tight around that waist. This is a position Sasso's comfortable in, but Menke is probably feeling some points right now. He just has to keep the action going, wants to overhook that ankle there.
See the no control sign hovering over the wrestlers, but he, as you said, he may just smell an opportunity.
And now Sasso passing the hips, getting to the ankle, looking for his own points. This is vintage Sasso, but now we're going to get a potentially dangerous call from the referee stopping the action.
Is it to the advantage of either of the wrestlers that that sequence was ended?
Well, I think Sasso was closer to a takedown in that position than Menke was, but that had shifted from a few seconds ago, so who knows?
Final minute. Final period. Again, 1 point deficit. This is the third time we've seen this. We saw it at 125, again at 157. The team split those two.
Sammy Sasso, 99 career wins coming into tonight.
Now he goes for the double shot. Sasso holds him out. He knows he needs that takedown to try to pull this match out in the waning seconds.
Well, now Sasso's got that knee toward the head. He loves a cradle in this situation, but he doesn't need it. He just has to fight off the potential takedown. He's down on one ankle, and he can burn a lot of clock right here with 12 to go.
Holding on with that ankle lock, preventing any control from being established by Menke. And he manages to hold off the challenge, and we've seen a number of these types of matches that literally have come down to the final seconds with the out 4-pound division. We've got Rogotzke for Ohio State taking on TJ McDonnell for Oregon State. Rogotzke a sophomore, McDonnell a redshirt freshman. And Rogotzke last year was 5th in the Big Ten, 18th seed in the NCAA. The Greco-Roman titleist, 2nd in freestyle. So he is an all-around wrestler. And he's tied for 4th in overall season falls with 16 for Ohio State.
Well, Rogotzke is one of the guys you pay admission for. He is fun to watch. He is with all due respect to Dominique Wilkins, a human highlight reel.
Wrestling version. But the early takedown for McDonnell, and McDonnell is a strong wrestler. He was 9-10 last year was his overall record, but he won 3 of his last 5 bouts. He was a runner-up in the recent Mike Clock Open and a California state champ at 182. There's an escape. Gets Rogotzke on the board. So this looks like this could be an interesting matchup, especially with that early takedown by McDonnell to sort of throw the gauntlet down.
Well, there you see Rogotzke trying to dig in those double underhooks. He loves to go upper body. When he's on the mat, on top or on bottom, he's probably more dangerous from bottom than he is from top. Maybe the stall call there against Oregon State, backing out of bounds. But you always have to be careful as an opponent. You want to be on your offense. You want to take your shots, but you have to make sure that the technique is sound, because if there are elbows out, if there is a head down, if there is an open hip, you're going to find yourself counting the lights pretty quick against Ryder Rogotzke.
McDonnell was the Orange County Wrestler of the Year in 2023 prior to his arrival at Oregon State. Rogotzke was a three-sport star in high school.
One of the top pinners in the history of Minnesota high school wrestling, and a pinner here at the collegiate level as well.
And he's being ridden out rather aggressively there. That out of bounds, no control was established. Score remains 3-1. But certainly McDonnell showing a certain tendency towards aggressiveness here.
Well, Oregon State thinks that might have been a takedown.
And they're going to check that out. Certainly drove him to the mat.
See if there was control down on the mat.
The signal was no control, but that is what is being challenged, similar to that first match at 125, where a decision to overturn could have given Brendan McCrone a victory over Maximo Renteria, but it did not go that way.
I like the attacks here from Harmon. Now, this is a guy that you're coming in just a 4-6 record, but he's a graduate student. He knows his way around the mat. He knows what he's doing, and he understands the situation against a guy with a lot of big weapons. You have to stay solid. Your position has to stay tight and controlled, and he's done a nice job of that with his shots low and staying low on the body, not allowing Rogotzke an opportunity for a big counter.
Last minute of the period, threw him down, then goes after him, and a takedown here is once again TJ McDonnell showing that he is willing to press the action.
There's the whip.
Escape, but whipped right back at him, and then got him down on the ground, and now accumulating near fall points too. Rogotzke looking for another fall. That'd be 17 in his career, just managing to roll out of it. And it appeared that McDonnell had things going pretty well, but Rogotzke turned it around in a blink of an eye.
As advertised.
Absolutely. That was great illustration of what is being talked about. Now he's got him again in a dangerous position. The crowd is anticipating it. Official down, taking a close look at the positioning of the shoulders, and there it is.
Time is out. Period is over. Time is out.
So the time just expired as he was on the verge.
And Rogotzke was awarded a penalty point as well, it looked like.
He was on the very verge of executing the pin, but saved by the bell and then getting the penalty point to make it tighter here going into the next period.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what the penalty was on there. The referee's hand signal was a bit confusing.
Everyone in the building was anticipating the pin, which almost eventuated. And they start the second period, but there's probably more action in that period of wrestling than we've seen in any of the bouts so far. And he rolls out for the escape to make it 9-6. But it looked like McDonnell was more or less dictating things, and then all of a sudden Rogotzke just turned it around.
Well, and the way he wrestles is counter to the way almost everybody is coached. You hear in coaches' chairs all across the nation at a lot of different levels, don't reach back, don't reach back. Here's a cradle. This could be dangerous.
And he has once again got him down. Back points accumulating. Can he get him down for the pin? He's not going to be saved by the bell this time.
Well, that one shoulder, that should do it.
That's it. That was worth waiting for. The crowd explodes. And the fall artist does it again. And the crowd just loves it.
Ryder Rogotzke is the...
As he gutted out a 1-0 victory at a higher weight class than has been typical for him. And a tremendous performance, and what an ovation he got when it was announced that was his 100th victory. Nick Feldman, USA competitor in the 22 World Junior Championships. His father was a nationally ranked wrestler for West Virginia back in '94. He was 7th in the country. Won gold at the Pan Am Championships in 2022. 86 straight high school wins. Very, very accomplished wrestler at the heavyweight division. And he's going right after it. And a quick takedown there for Feldman.
Feldman is not a big heavyweight. He's not a tall heavyweight. He is not tipping the scales near the top of the 285-pound weight limit. But he uses his tremendous lower body strength and quickness just about perfectly. A lot of low-level shots coming off of change of direction, and a lot of other heavyweights just don't have the lateral movement to avoid those attacks.
Yeah, he certainly had that on full display there. And Mower, he said, a national champion junior college wrestler, and a message there that this isn't junior college anymore. But certainly it's more dynamic than a lot of times you see at the heavyweight division. Mower, a 4-time letterman in football, wrestling, and track.
Yeah, I think really in terms of athletic heavyweights,
we are.
Boy, there's another good low-level shot and finish, but we're kind of at a golden age of athletic heavyweights. Even a guy like Gable Steveson, obviously, who is huge, is also very athletic. The other heavyweights who we've seen a lot, and you don't see as often anymore the heavyweights is just the big guy that wants to win a 2-to-1 match. There's a lot more athleticism and scoring at the heavyweight level than has historically been the case.
And as you were saying before, you're always trying to make the sport more entertaining, and that's a big advantage. A lot of times at the prep level, you'll see that they'll change the order in which the weight classes go out because they don't want people walking out on the heavyweights. And this has been very, very entertaining, and Feldman has really been following along in the same tradition of the last couple of matches with Shoemate and Rogotzke in terms of his dynamism out there.
Now, Mower's going to have to find a way to get to his attacks here. His stance is more upright than Feldman, which is one of the reasons why Nick has been able to get to the low-level shots. There's a change of level and shot from Mower, but not able to finish it off. Feldman with a great counter.
Great lateral movement there on display by Feldman, and he turns that into another takedown. He's been just outstanding here in the early going of this. Building up a 9-2 lead, and now once again drives his opponent to the mat as the first period expires.
Well, all Feldman so far. Again, for Mower, I like the fact that he showed confidence in the attack. He's going to have to close the distance a little bit more to make that more effective. And that's not easy to do against Feldman because, again, he's not tall for a heavyweight and has so much power in his hips and legs, but also in the upper body, the arms and shoulders, that to get past that head and hands defense against Feldman is not an easy thing to do. You almost have to be really, really heavy-handed and have an excellent snap to try and get Feldman's hands on the mat to change kind of direction and go around him rather than through him. Oh.
And once more, that's a load to be falling on you. It's been happening a lot.
Well, it's an excellent setup for Feldman to turn that into a takedown.
Once again, you'll give up the escape to come up with a takedown. There he goes again. Wow. This is definitely not your prototypical historic heavyweight match.
No, but it is
Feldman,
pretty typical of Feldman. This is his ballywick.
Yeah, absolutely. He's showing tremendous amount of athleticism to go with his size. The crowd's really into it, into the rhythmic clapping and cheering. Of course, they're always into it here, but they're really appreciating this effort that Feldman is turning in.
Well, we've seen a lot of fireworks in the back half of this duel,
sure
Greg.
have.
And you're right, the crowd has appreciated it very, very much.
Great deal of action in the second half after there were a couple of matches that really went down to the final seconds earlier. And then, of course, the victory by Sammy Sasso was at 1-0. And now the last three matches, a lot of fireworks. And here we go again.
Feldman needs one more takedown for the tech fall here.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet against him based on what we're watching. We're still 45 seconds remaining in the second period. There he goes again. And he was going for the fall there. Didn't quite get that, but he took care of this in quick succession. A 23-6 victory in the last three matches. Just superlative efforts by Ryder Rogotzke, Seth Shoemate, and now Nick Feldman.